Welcome everybody to the After Dark Show. I'm Don Rogers. Tonight's show, I think, is going to be really interesting. We're going to go over some really cool subjects and very interesting ones at that. One of the first things we're going to go through is I've had one other guest on that's talked about it, and I didn't really understand it, is human design. And my guest tonight actually did one up for me, and it really was on point, and it's rather fascinating, the entire technique and everything that's involved. So I am really excited to get into talking about that. And we're also going to get into something I've been very open about, my addiction issues in the past, and it's probably something somewhere down deep that I've suffered with myself, while I know I have, is dopamine addiction, which is a very, very interesting subject, especially in this day and age. So who my guest is tonight is one of my new favorite people to talk to. And speaking of new, she's also the newest member of the FKN family. She is the spirit mom from Transcending Ascension, Dyanna. Dyanna, thank you for coming back.
Yes, happy to be here. I loved our convo last time. And we'll get into that with your human design, because your ability to ask questions, I found that in your human design.
That is so cool. Like I had heard it, and when I did the first interview that I had about this in the first season, it didn't really register with me. I was like, no, I don't get it. But the way that you had broken it down to me, it actually started to click, and I was like, okay, I see. And then you like gave me the whole breakdown. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's me, and that's me, and that's me. And so like absolutely on point. So I guess for like the listeners at home, I like to come at this from kind of a 101, because that's where I am, is, you know, the first stage of my remembering. What is human design? Like, can you give us a description of what it all entails and what it is?
Yeah. So for starters, it is astrology. It is astrology, but it's taking it through like a different filter, and it's using more information. It's starting from, I think it's 88 days before you're born. It takes a snapshot, and then it pairs that with the snapshot of when you're born, same as astrology. But it pairs the two together, and the 88 days before you're born is your subconscious. And then you're born is your conscious, and then known as your personality is the conscious, or your design is the subconscious. And then the two play off each other, and they make like your profile is a combo of the both. Your incarnation cross is a combo of the both. And then as you go through the channels, you see how certain things work. Like you have certain channels that like are technically complete, but half of it's subconscious. So being aware of that, like when we become aware of this information, it helps us to just design our lives from a place of awareness. And so it's mathematically streaming through that data. So like in astrology, you take the astrology and that's it. You're just looking at the astrology. In human design, and I can't pretend to understand how the math works, though I've tried, but I'm not a math person. It comes through a system because it's using the I Ching, the Kabbalah, astrology itself, and there's a couple other modalities in there where it worked together. It created a mathematical formula. So like how true mathematicians are like divine creatures, this is like a showcase of that. And it comes through and it goes through like a mandala that shoots it out. And then that also, so it's going through stream upon stream upon stream before it actually becomes that human design graph that we all know. And that's what you look at when you're, dissecting the self. It's in the chart, but it's going through many streams before that. And a true, proper human design person knows how to look at the mandala as well. And I'm starting to like look at it. It's a lot of math, and it's like almost like artistic and like abstract, but it's not. It's full math. And so like how they're actually doing the math, I'm not 100% on yet, though I've tried. I even used to take private lessons, and even she didn't understand. And she took lessons straight from Ra when he was still alive. So she's coming straight from the source. Like I got myself a certificate, but it's not like such a like straight from the source kind of thing. So if she doesn't understand it, it makes me feel a little better that I don't. Just because I would love to be able to understand the math. Because when I look at astrology and like there's like squarings and junctions and sextiles and all these different things that like I know what that means. I know how to, because you're looking at the stars and you can put that together. But with human design, it's a lot of trust, because you just trust the math, and the proof's in the pudding with how it works. And just this system that Ra created it's next level. And then I think Gene Keys is even the next level after that, because Gene Keys built itself off human design and took that even further. And then Gene Keys, I think, is more like your destiny. It's really set on your destiny and how to fully pull out everything the soul was intended on. And I'm still working on understanding Gene Keys as well, though I know how to cast a chart and things like that. But I'm sticking mostly to human design right now, because I want to be like I became kind of like, I knew astrology in my bones before I jumped to human design. And then I want to know human design in my bones before I jump to Gene Keys, because they're all they work together symbiotically very well.
So one of the things I've been trying to wrap my head around with this since you've done mine is, how do you implement this in your daily life? Like, it's a lot to take in when you get this kind of inside information on yourself. Like, do you just kind of baby step it, or do you pick one thing and try to make that a focus? Like, because I see where it points out where you can be more successful, and I think it's a way to your most authentic self. So like, with yourself, how did you start to implement it, I guess?
Well, for starters, you start with the type. That's your energy type. So for you, that's being a generator, a manifesting generator specifically for you, but you still technically fall under generator. It's just the manifesting generator is almost like a subcategory, because officially there was only 4, though a lot of people talk about it as 5. Even Ra himself later on started mentioning that there's 5. So maybe he even started to see that the manifesting generator is kind of a standalone, because the manifesting generator comes with a lot more creativity, because generators, but our beloved Sam is a generator. So we know generators can be magical. And Ra even said himself that an awakened generator could save the world, because they have all that energy. But the problem with generators is they usually lack the care to wake up. And there's 7. So including you, though, that's 72%.
Oh, you froze. Hey, Trip, good to see you. Steven, thank you for being here. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to being on Trip's channel tomorrow night. We're going to be on Canada's Corner. Oh, she's unfroze. There she is. We got to 7 kinds, I think.
Yeah, so 70 to 72% of the population is generators. So waking them up is very important. So having ones like you that are already awakened is fantastic. So, but knowing your energy type is the jumping off point, because that's so key to know what you're capable of. So let's say you didn't want to do stuff. Let's say you were lethargic or things like that. You would know that's not in your nature. You would know that you can overcome that. And that's just some kind of like PTSD, or there's so many reasons people can end up lethargic. But for me, because I was lethargic, I'm a projector. I have no energy of my own. I don't make my own energy. So I have to get energy by all these just to we're the most complicated one, the projectors, and we're the newest to humanity, period. We came in the mid 1700s, and the whole human expanded to allow what the projector needed to come in. So everybody got upgraded in the process, including, so generators now have access to more information. And that's why people have been waking up since the mid 1700s. That times in around the French Revolution too. So these kinds of things, they grow off the type first. So your energy type, because knowing your energy type is key, because then you know what's for you and what's not. So for me, I know not to push it, but for you, you know, you can push it. Like when it comes to any kind of endeavor or ambition. And then next you have like the profile. Actually, sorry, next you have your authority type. Next, that's the next thing you want to look at is your authority type, because then that's how you make decisions. That's how you're going to know how to think about things, because knowing how to think, they don't teach us that in school, right? Knowing how to think is so important, and we're not all the same like they wanted us to think. So knowing how to think. So for me, that's splenic. That's instant. I don't get any details. I'm just told like a whisper of like, get up and go, or it's so small. It's such a teeny whisper, but you get used to it. You learn. And then now that I know that I have to listen right away or it's gone. But you could also be sacral, which gets more information. It's also intuitive, but they're going to have more information. They can kind of sit with it a teeny bit and actually like use their intuition with knowing why they're using their intuition. And then there's people like you, and Steven has the same one. One of my sons is the same, and that's emotional. And emotional, you do need to sit and think and feel it out and like let it process through. Sometimes you can take days to think and feel it through, but it's not as long as outer authority. They want to take like a full month They want to take like a full month with, I'm glad I don't have that one, because that would be awful. Because you'd have to just sit there for a long time and you'd want to get other people's opinions, which like, no thanks. So for but that's all, outer authority, it has its time and place too, because they can end up being the most magical too, especially like a mental projector with outer authority. Like that right there is a recipe for a monk. So like there's different places and you can put everything in a positive or negative camp. So that's again why you want to know these things, because you can turn it into a positive camp. And so your authority is next, and then comes the profile, which for me, I'm 1-3. So I'm an investigator martyr. You are 3-5. So you are a martyr heretic. So that means we're the ones that will die on the cross. We are the ones that will throw our lives down for whoever and whatever, because we were brought here to sacrifice. Like sacrificing is part of our nature. And especially you, because your genetic wound, which is another thing, is guilt. So you have an extra helping of the martyrism there, because your genetic wound is guilt, where mine is suppression. There can be rejection. There's different genetic wounds you can have as well. And then you also have your incarnation cross, which that's what I have up for you. And that's where I found your, why you're so good at asking questions and things like that. Cause you have the right angle cross of consciousness. And that sounds pretty made for spirituality right there. The consciousness being where I have the cross of Eden. That's more specific to my children, but it made sense why I was obsessed with having children, and I'm supposed to birth the new race of children. But that was supposed to start happening in 2027, and I've already had my children. So I don't know how that plays out with that. We'll have to see how magical they become. And if I end up having more children, which that's not part of the plan. But the incarnation cross is one of the things, like once you have yourself settled in your type and your authority and your profile, because your profile is like your personality. That's how you're going to want to shape your life and your career, where your incarnation cross is going to be your destiny. That's what you want to make sure you're working towards. That's what's going to bring you that soul level fulfillment, is in your incarnation cross.
Okay. I actually, do you want to bring that up so we can go through it with everybody? Like I if you want to share screen, we can show everybody what we're talking about, because like you and I know what's on it, but we may as well share it so those that are actually watching can see and we can walk through it.
Okay, it's not showing as an option.
Oh.
I'll just do entire screen then.
Okay.
We'll have the screen and the screen and the screen. It's not showing it as a window. Maybe if I pull, is it because I put it down? Yes, it's because I put it down. Okay, I got it back up. So do you want to look at the incarnation cross first, since that's what we're talking about? And then I also have your chart, which we can go through as well.
Yeah, we'll show everybody what the process is and what these are.
Perfect. Okay, and then so awesome. Okay, so this is just, and you can just do a search. And this one I picked because it's specifically a website for generators. So I thought it would do a good job at like properly making it for you. Like when I did Stevens, they had the same incarnation cross. So just because you can read this in the direct website, but it's very dry. I find like these people go that extra mile of researching and pulling through lived experience. But you can see here, so this cross is about getting to the bottom of the meaning of life. When people with the racks of consciousness allow themselves to be curious about the deepest patterns of what it means to be a soul in a human body, they awaken their consciousness through their human experiences. They activate themselves, trigger questions in others, and point out things to other people about their existence that they may have overlooked, which is exactly what I felt like you were doing. Sometimes they are a catalyst, and sometimes they are the observer. This is their consciousness.
She froze again. Okay. So I see Karen is in the chat. She was at Catalyst. I'm going to remember that. So wow, this is there's Spinja. She says, wow, this is awesome. She's making it make sense. Karen is in the chat. I saw Extra Trip earlier.
It'll break it all down.
You froze at Catalyst.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the screen, so I didn't notice. Okay, where was I? Okay, and then so catalysts, and sometimes they are observers. This is their way of expanding their own consciousness and the collective consciousness. You approach with curiosity. It is normal to try on different people's views of the world. The actual truth of each person lies inside, and the deepest point of our consciousness is always our personal truth and the decisions we make through our strategy and authority, which is what we were just talking about at the beginning. And then you can go through, this is huge. So your incarnation cross, well, as you even saw with the stuff I was sending you, they can really break this down and make it just huge for people to get the most information out of it. And I found when reading about astrology, you can take it or leave it, right? Like, it's like, there's so much in astrology, but I found human design is not like that. Human design is so precise that it's a guarantee. Like, I haven't found anything in my human design, not one time, that I was like, meh, that doesn't really feel like me. No, everything in human design is so spot on. Where astrology, because it's just so much and there's so many variables, and it doesn't have that double layering of the both, that I found there's variables where I just don't find that in human design.
You actually touched on that. Stephen and I have several things that are very similar, and that's where this becomes so relatable, because he and we talk a lot off the air and practically all day while we're both at work through speech to text. We have very, very similar stories of our younger days and our upcoming to getting to this point. Like, now he went deep into the esoteric. I went and like had kids and had this whole other life, and like kind of muted what I was doing for God knows how long. But like, when him and I compare notes about the traumas in our lives, the addictions in our lives, the major events in our lives, a lot of them seem to line up. And then we got noticing that we have the same eye color, we have the same pigment deficient like thing around it. I can't remember the word. I'm sure he's going to put it in the chat.
Iris.
Uh, Emily Moyer was talking about it, and I can't think of the name of it right now.
Okay.
But yeah, like, there is so much similarity. And then we actually put our faces side by side, and even biologically, our facial structure is similar. So like, when you're talking about the similarities and I don't know if it's an archetypal thing, but they do really relate. When these things line up, the people are actually very similar people.
Yes, it's true. It's true. And you can find, like, Sam and I bond over that. Sam and I have like a lot of similarities. And then finding that person that matches you, especially on unique things, because there's some things everybody has. And then there's something that's like, whoa. And it helps you grow when you can like watch somebody else living the same life but doing it differently. Like, it's a totally different script, but it's like the same characters playing the script, and you can just see that I find it fascinating. And I love like Carl Jung, and like I feel like I would be him, because like just dissecting humanity and the variables in our personality, it literally is how you could fix every single problem if this was integrated into absolutely everything.
I believe that, and I do think that you and I have had this conversation about higher source intelligence. I think Stephen and I come from a very similar frequency, even in that matter as well, because like, he's one of the few people that I can just talk about just about anything. He's like, yeah, I get that, and it's this, right? It's just that a lot of my life, I'm getting a little personal here. A lot of my life, I was told I was very strange, and the things that came out of my mouth were insane. I actually said it in the group text about, I think I was 20 years old the first time I looked at somebody and went, if I could arrange the right amount of frequency, I could completely dissolve you into nothing. And the person just went, that's like out of a space movie. I'm like, no, it's actually this reality. If I could find the right frequency, I could turn you into nothing. And he's like, no, you're fucking weird. And I'm like, that was the response I got whenever I said anything intelligent. Is like, you're weird, but I've now found my little collective amongst you as well.
Yeah, because I've actually tried that. Like,
but it's people that actually understand what the hell I'm saying, and it actually is a very. It's just neat to be here.
It's a breath of fresh air. It's a breath of fresh air to be like, okay, so I'm not the freak.
Oh, she froze again. Oh. Hi, Jason, Selena, Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot. We are having technical issues as always.
Yeah, I bet.
You,
It'll get better.
froze it
The more the
quick.
sun goes down, it'll get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dish in the sun.
Well, poor Karen, she's in the chat. She has a brand new computer, 3 weeks old, and it crashed right in the. It's just something about being on this show. Well, we all know what it is. But
Yeah.
we know what it is. We can talk and say it's our internet connections and all that.
It could honestly though be our energy, like because we generate energy with because thought, right? We generate
Yeah,
energy, and that could be causing problems in the circuits.
that could be too. Like we are very strong projectors, so I don't doubt that. Um, I wanted to ask you, and we'll keep this about mine. With the way I'm set up, is that why I feel like burnt out? And is that possibly related to my ADD? Because I seriously feel like I never stop thinking. I was actually joking about it with my new supervisor at work. I'm like, I have hypertension and ADHD, so I never stop thinking, and most of it worries me. Right.
Yes, 100%. That'd be coming from the ADHD. Because Samantha's a generator and she has that and she reports that like chronic fatigue. Something I've always had too, and I have ADHD on top of it being a projector, but seeing how it plays out as well, because that's an ADHD thing, because you overthink, you can get sporadic energy that allows you to do just tons of stuff. But then a lot of the time is also downtime of just being stuck in thought. And I find the best way to get out of those stuck points is find anything you are capable and willing to do. Anything. It could be so. Is there a pile of like garbage on the table beside you and you're sitting? Just clean that up. Like whatever it is, because it gets the wheels of physicality rolling. And next thing you know, you could be moving again. Because part of ADHD, it freezes you. And I think ADHD, that divergence, which I like to call it now, is a magical thing. It is part of being a starseed. So you're getting this quantum information, these universal downloads, and we're going through an evolutionary process that's not very gentle. So we're getting these huge hits, and that's I think what ADHD is. And then that can be amazing sometimes. Like I'm grateful for it now because learning and utilizing it and just knowing when it's happening, not to shame or blame the self and just be like, okay, this is what's happening. And then learning the tools to get out of it, because you can fry your circuits. You can completely fry your circuits and be literally frozen solid.
I I can totally relate to that because like I do have a hard time keeping. Spinja finds it fascinating. Everybody knows her name's Kyla, whatever. I can literally carry on 2 or 3 conversations at once while texting. And everybody's like, you're not paying attention. I'm like, you were talking about this. That was on TV. This is doing this, blah, blah. And I'm not focused on any of it. And it's actually, I used to work in a bar. I could literally go from the back of the bar to the front of the bar before the bouncers that were at the front of the bar because I just knew where everything was, it's just this multifaceted focus. And
Yeah.
yeah, it can be a dysfunction or however they like to label it, but I also learned to work with it. And it actually made me very skilled at a lot of things because once you start to figure out how to functionally use a sporadic mind, you can use it to think about 3, 4, 5 things at once, and you're not distracted by any of it, right? You're still actually carrying on, but you're thinking about 3 or 4 things, right? So I know you and I have talked about this. I honestly think a lot of these disabilities are medical misnomers. Like we were talking about Alzheimer's and dementia. I think ADD and autism fall under these categories too. Like a lot of this stuff that mainstream labels as disabilities are actually fucking near superpowers if you
Yes.
know how to use them properly. Like I don't know if you've gotten into it. I got to like episode 7 and Kyla told me I'm going to have a hard time was the telepathy tapes. That just blew my mind. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, okay, on the spectrum, that's a misnomer. Because when you think about it, when you say on the spectrum, you're talking about the mental frequency of the individual. So it's just a wide spectrum of intelligence and they all vibrate differently. Like those kids in the telepathy tapes, have telepathy and they're fully autistic, most of them nonverbal, but
Yeah.
can prove that they have a psychological or psychic connection that we don't, right? My mom and I, and it's actually starting to happen in our own house. Like we'll have 2-word or no word sentences. We're actually starting to be able to do it over the phone. Like she'll say, and I was like, oh yeah, because she did and she's like, did we just, and I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay, but you were actually talking about it. I'm like, yes. And that's the entirety of the sentence. Like that's the whole conversation, but both of us know what we just talked about. Right. So there's something fascinating going on with people on the spectrum or divergent as well. And it seems to be a lot of the ones that have had the mental traumas or the divergence are the ones that are clicking online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much in that to unpack because it's an enormous, enormous topic. And one thing I'll say, which we can get into later, but I'll just like kind of, that's why we become dopamine addicts because of what we're okay. It's this book series I read, so you probably haven't read it. It's kind of girly, but the Fever series, and there's this girl in it, and she can go up into the slipstream, and she's incredibly fast, like like the Flash. But they make it as a point to show that she has to just constantly consume food. She has to travel with candy bars or she'll die. Like if she doesn't constantly consume energy up in the slip stream, this book was filled with channeled information and the author didn't even realize it. Or I don't think she did, but slip stream, that's what we do. We're in the slip stream and we are working at quantum speeds. So we need, and chocolate actually does work very well, but we need this energy. And then so what I'm recently diving into with research is, because we always saw dopamine as like, yes, we need it, but oh, we're bad and we're using it wrong. When in actuality, dopamine is a fuel source for the soul. Like this is known. This was known. Why did no one tell us sooner? Like it's not just for the human. Dopamine is specifically fueling soul energy. Like it's specifically tied in, which I guess makes sense because we're learning that those inner pineal glands are, and your pituitary gland are where all the God juices are coming, because even melatonin is part of it, and DMT we already know, but dopamine and then serotonin I'll get to next is as well. But dopamine is so vital, and this is why we get addicted. This is why we get addicted over and over and over again. Like I've never had any hard drug addictions, but I've constantly been addicted to something throughout my whole life, and alcohol was one of it, and cannabis was one of it. So it's not like it hasn't been drugs. Just Advil was one. I used to take painkillers like crazy. Like I used to always need something to feel better. And then that would help that relaxing, because that relaxing space releases the dopamine. And now we have energy. And that's where you tie into the mental illness, though, because the systems are all whacked. So people still as mentally ill, right? You can still see the mental illness because the circuitry isn't right yet. And I think that's, again, part of our evolution. We need to work out the circuitry. So I'm looking into find like positive dopamine. And the problem with positive dopamine is it's not as easily achieved, and it takes longer to hit the system, and it usually requires more work on our part. Like the simplest way is sun gazing, because you just look at the sun and you get dopamine. So that's the simplest way, grounding, simple way. But there's so many other ways, like meditation's a part of it. Researching can be a part of it. Like, so we're going to need to read, and this is what we're here for, the divergence, is we are the ones bringing in the new information to retool humanity. And that's going to be part and parcel with how we evolve. And then I think eventually, and you can see it with the children of today, everybody's going to be a divergent. We're not the freaks. We're just we're the pioneers. We were the first ones put down. I'm not the very first. There's people back in the 60s. There's people back in the 1700s. Like they've been seeded with star seeds for a while. Carl Jung talks about how he thought he was a freak. He's a full occultist. People need to read his red book, because if you read because he's mentioned a lot, and if you read his like normal scientific books, he later explains in the red book, he kept all the occult stuff out because he knew he would be burned as like intellectually, like people would throw his work away and never take him seriously again. And it didn't even come out till 2009, because they're finally like, okay, it's time. Carl Jung never wanted it released, but the people that were I don't know, his society thought differently. And they're like, no, people need to know. And I'm glad that we do. He was a full occultist. So he's just yet one that was all alone. We're all Carl Jungs now. And he used to have to do yoga every day. He would draw a mandala every single day. He would get up every single morning. So discipline, which Stephen would love, is definitely going to be a factor in how we start to regulate yourselves. What I don't have any rigid, I do this at this time and this at this time, but I do make sure like stretching. Stretching is key to keep our minds stretched so that all this information is coming through, and the fascia is part of the neural network, which is coming online now as well, with people realizing that. And so there's so many different things that we can do. Like, so much is available to us now that we can step away from the things that were bad from us, because there's a lot of people in this world now. Like, when I was first awakening years ago, I was still drinking, I was still bonging it, like I was still living that life, but there was a huge wall. You cannot go further until you drop the hard stuff. But then there's still wiggle room. Like, I got into chocolate and ice cream, and I quit cannabis for years, but then I went back to cannabis, and then I quit cannabis again, and then, you know what I mean? Like, so there's wiggle room, but I think, like, when you're living a rock star life, you do have to give that up, and you do have to show the steps that you are going to walk the path. And there's people that still drink a little, and that's different than the whole full. I was a huge partier, so I just quit. And it's so much. This could be a whole novel, because it's little step by little step by little step of fixing the life. Because divergent does not mean anything is wrong with you. It's just more of you. You have a bigger circuit board. You're more complicated than any human before that you probably know of. So you're going to have to invent things, and you're going to have to study those that came before you, or those that are here with us now. Like, we're finding with our group, like, we all have these similarities, and we can be like, oh, this worked for me. This worked for me. And then, like, put it together and be like, oh, that does work for me, or that doesn't work for me, because that's fine. But we can start to build ourselves a functional way of living.
I totally agree. And it's funny, you pretty much just outlined my path to. I still smoke cannabis, but that's because I had a near fatal motorcycle accident when I was 25 and was on heavy prescription painkillers for years. And that was the only solution for me to still be functional and not have to take that much prescription medication. Like, I was on Percocet and morphine for years. Like, those are supposed to be a short-term medicine. And what ended up happening, the more I quit, like, I took myself off of the medication. I quit drinking after 30 years. I quit smoking. And I was on venlafaxine, was the last thing, for borderline personality disorder. And it is such a strong medication that if I missed a dose, it felt like I was having a stroke. Like, my tongue would go numb, my face would tingle, I would get severe cramps in my brain. And I actually looked at Kyla one day and I'm like, look, I need to stop taking this. And if I need to go to the hospital, please take me to the hospital, but I'm done with this.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably within months that I started having my spiritual remembering, as Stephen would call it. Like, as soon as I cleared all of the crap out, like, me and myself have made the deal, like, okay, weed, fine. We need that to function. Got it. Right? We're not going to be a pothead. We're just going to do it to reduce pain, because this hurts like hell because we really screwed up when we were in our 20s. Aside from that, clean living. I've even changed my eating. Right? And the more I progress into the lifestyle that you're describing, the more the bandwidth opens up and the more I seem to be understanding. And it's funny, Kentucky, Kentucky, Bigfoot. Jesus said there will be many that come after him that do more. And we were actually talking about this in, oh crap, I hit the wrong button. 1 second. There I am. We were actually talking about this in the group chat about Christ consciousness and how we are bashful to even think that that's a possibility. Like, and you and I were not brought up in religious indoctrinated.
Yeah. Oh, Canada.
Right. That was about the biggest indoctrination was, and I think they even phased out the Lord's Prayer by the time I hit grade 6. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it wasn't jammed down our throats, but I have a hard time using that term even when it comes to myself, because it feels blasphemous and I'm not even religious. Like it's a very strange thing to realize that we are literally coming online. Like I'm going to share with the group. I have a new supervisor at work, and he saw that I was making the graphic for this show. And he's like, "What is that?" Because in the background of the graphic for this show is the Human Design logo, right? And so in about 90 seconds that day, I explained what Human Design was, right? Just rough. It's like this archetypal blah, blah, blah. So I showed him today the actual graphic. And then he's like, "Oh, well, what do you do?" And we got talking about what I talk about. And I ended up explaining the concept of reality to him as I know it in about 90 seconds. And he was just like, "Oh,"
Yeah.
right. And he's aware but not awake. Like he was the one who showed me. He has a app on his phone that you can scan any UPC code and see all of the additives in any food, right? It's like, okay, so you get this, but like he was actually even interested in the I lost my words. Human Design. That's it. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's good. And you're lucky that he actually listened to, or you should say lucky, but it's nice that he actually listened. And they will be like, wow. And that's actually a good thing. Because here, honestly, sometimes I don't even get to finish what I'm saying. That's why I'm working on formulating, because I have an open throat in my Human Design, which you have a closed one. So you would be very good at articulating. Most people do have closed. 20% have open. That's one thing Sam and I share. But it means when I talk, which people that watch me would probably know, I can go all over the place, but I have a point. I'm going to get there. I'm going to land it. But people just like their attentions wander and they can't stay for the whole show. So I'm trying to work on a 90-second soundbite, of like formulating my idea, because just to say it to them and not get insulted, or to have them even just pay attention to everything I said, would be a win, because you can't really expect them to understand it right away. Because when I first started hearing this stuff, I learned so gradually and slowly. I've been learning this stuff honestly since my early 20s, but like it took me even more years to smarten up, because I was, you have to smarten up. First, I was learning this stuff and still thinking of it as I was still being an atheist, because I didn't believe in immortality or the soul, but you can still learn about quantum physics and the whole universe, and the universe being alive and the universe actually being God, but still be an atheist to a point, because that doesn't mean I'm immortal. So like there's so much in this for us to grow, because now I know we are immortal. I know and then we are all God, the anthropic principle. I'm you, you're me. I will literally be you one day, fully 100%. You will literally be me. And the soul team is those that are like the closest. So like maybe in the next 1,000,000 years, you and I will be the same person, kind of thing, where the others are all time and space, right? There's no such thing as time and space. So it's literally, we're just talking a matter of distance. Same thing with people like your soulmates. Like that's how close proximity you are to of being each other, right? Like there's so much in this. There's so much. We could talk for days and days and days. And this is why our circuits will fry. But then you try to tell someone this, you try to tell anyone, they're like, you're insane. And this is why atheists and like the religious Bible thumping people are the only ones that come at me. When I first started this, I was so nervous that like other metaphysics people were going to be like, oh, you're dumb, you're saying it wrong, oh, it's not this chakra, it's that chakra. And I was so nervous, right? But it was never that. It was atheists and Christians, and that's just like lol, because I don't care, you're dumb. Like, no, that's rude, but like you have no idea what I'm even talking about. And you're not even going to try to listen to me. Yet you want to call me insane. I'm insane, but you're not even listening. So then that just allows, like, just goodbye with that. That doesn't hurt my feelings whatsoever. It's like a little annoying. They're not even listening, but it's just, wow. So to get someone to actually listen to you and then actually be interested, that's a huge win.
Oh, it was like he sat there in the office. It was just the two of us. We're usually the first two in the door, right? And he actually had a follow-up question, which I'm not going to give my explanation on the air because I don't want to piss anybody off. But he asked me, what about God? And I explained it to him in another 90 seconds. After which he conveyed to me he was a non-baptized, non-practicing, but raised Catholic. And what I just said made sense. And he's like, can I have the link to your paper? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Right. So I know what he's doing tonight, but it was really I felt like I broke a barrier almost. I felt like I stuck a toe into the 3D and waved around some of my authenticity. And it actually landed like a normal person understood me. And it was a first. So today was kind of a win for me. It felt good.
Yeah, that's huge. Especially the what about God? Like when people come to me about the questions of God and the Bible and stuff like that, it's like, that wasn't God. That was usually Satan. Jesus was talking about God, but how the Father and I are one. Because the Father and I are one. Because we are all one. We are literally all the same person. There is no daddy father in the sky. That's the kind of thing that made my atheism kind of correct the whole time. It's like there isn't actually, there is the all of the all, but like that, the all of the all is busy. You know what I mean? He doesn't like, and then he's made himself into God being. So if you want to think of Zeus as your God, Zeus is your God. Because if you're praying to Zeus, Zeus is actually up there. Zeus could actually answer you and help you. He's going to ask a price, because these things, like, that's why Christ energy is what I preach, because it's the only one that is just a part of our layer of reality. It's individuated its own consciousness. It's a part of our consciousness, especially when we come online and awaken in that Christic energy. So that's why it's the best one to go to, but it's not the only one. There's lots of things you can go to, but actual God, not listening, because it's right here. It's focusing right now, right here, because technically me and you aren't even existing at the same time. That's just how complicated God is. The one divine particle, like prints us all out individually, makes this whole thing, no time and space. This is why no time and space is so important for people to comprehend, because that's how this is all possible. And then it's played out in a show, like how they use the example of the movie. When you're filming a movie, you film the end, you film the beginning, you film the middle, you film all over the place. Sometimes you change out the character if it's a soap opera. But then when you're bringing it out, the audience is watching it all like it's all happening in a flow, but that's not how it's happening. And that's how we are. We are not actually happening. This is how we can alter the past and the future, because it's actually all happening at the same time. It's almost like you would pow. But then there's also choice points as it's printing it out that start to do the whole thing. And then it wiggles around, and past change, future change, past change, future change, all because of the choice points you make right now. So the only God that is the God of God is right here to you.
I 100% agree with everything you just said. And actually, the catalyst for mine to put me into that state of understanding what you just said was my super soldier nightmare stuff that I first experienced that kind of kicked off my awakening. And a lot of people get stuck in that SSP loophole, and that's all they do is they get there and they write a book and they obsess over it, and that's their life. I almost did that, and it almost drove me crazy. It scared the hell out of my family. But the end result of that was me having an understanding that I have an infinitesimal amount of parallel consciousnesses. And I was literally viewing a parallel consciousness. And once I was able to wrap my mind around that, I was like, okay, so in that existence, that segment of my consciousness is a super soldier. That's not me. I'm not going there. I don't, yeah, right. So that was the catalyst for me to
You can
understand what you
access
just
it
said.
though. You can,
Yeah.
if you can, any of the lives that you feel, you can access it. Like, so if there's something you want to get out of there, like choose your adventure, go ahead, like, and pull that in, or not, or it could just be a warning. But you're right. You guys in the secret space program, I didn't even realize that. I had this when I was first awakening and first meditating back when I was still a drinker. I went up to a spaceship, and I didn't even know there was a secret space program. So I never ended up going down that rabbit hole of thinking that's what I was involved in. But it was all spaceships in the beginning. I don't know what that is, or if this now I'm hearing, and I was distrustful because I was so rudimentary in my awakening, and yet it was so visceral. I'm like, why would they come to me, and what was that about? And they were inflating my ego. I was the captain of the ship. It was super like important. I was deciding if humanity would live or die. And it was this whole, and I kind of, luckily, because I was a huge skeptic. I still kind of am, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I dissect everything. So I kind of left it where it was and assumed it was a trickster. It was cool, and it never left me. So I don't know what that is still to this day.
Yeah, it's a very jarring experience, but once you wrap your head around that it's just another version of your conscious reality in another existence, that's pretty much all and Kyle is actually at the same stage. When I go to sleep, when I rest my vessel, I wake up in another version of self. Like, I don't have what people describe as dreams anymore. I just close my eyes and then I'm somewhere else for like, I can be gone for weeks, but here it's 8 hours, right? Like, I'll be there for weeks. I'll be like doing a lot of the time, her and I are together, right? Like, not both of us having the same dream, but I'll be like in another reality with her as my wife. And it's like, oh yeah, we're living on this farm and we're doing this. And then I wake up and it's like, oh shit, I'm here. Okay. And sometimes it takes me a minute. Like, it still kind of rattles me, right? Like, it's like, okay, which one am I? Because you do have to like center yourself back into this reality right now.
Yes. And I think that's actually unique to you. I mean, I've had moments like that, moments, but it's not all the time. Like, I once passed out going from the hot to the cold of wonderful Canada, and I fainted. Um, and I thought I'd been out forever. It was only like 15 seconds, and I'd lived a life.
Oh, fainted for 15 seconds. And Trip, yes, I absolutely loved that song. That was awesome that you wrote that. Like, we got to the point where you fainted for 15 seconds.
Oh, okay. And I lived a whole life. Like, it was a whole thing. And then I remember being sucked out of that life. Like, I was there and it wasn't like normally waking up. I was sucked out and I was like, what's happening? As I like was pulled out, starting to hear people go, Dyanna, Dyanna. And I wake up and I was like, thought I was out forever. And no, it was 15 seconds, whole life lived. And yeah, that was my most visceral experience of it. Cause I was awakening already. I awakened witchcraft, that awakening level then. And but that was, I hadn't no time and space layer of awakening yet, but that's how I know there's no time and space. I've been there and I agree.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I can't explain it enough to people when they ask. It's like, no, I go to sleep and I have entire experiences for it's 8 hours here, but it can be a lifetime there. Um, but yeah, like it really is an interesting experience when you realize that you're experiencing another version of self. And that's actually like, I have brought stuff back. Like, a lot of the things that I now understand are from other versions of myself or other timelines, because like, and the alchemist told me not to use this as a point of contention, so it is not. It is a point of explanation, and I'm not going to harp on it because it doesn't matter. But I dropped out in grade 10. I did not study quantum physics. I did not go to college. I did not go to university, but all of a sudden I can write papers that authors have looked at and went, yeah, that's pretty spot on. Like, we really can tap into these other versions of self.
Yes, 100%. And I find that's like, to try to use that as a power. And this is why lucid dreaming is what people should actually try to tap into, because it will open you up more now. Like, this lucid dreaming is one of the most powerful things a person could do. You can literally open up an entire, like, because we're band, right? Like, we're bandwidths, and we can be smaller or we can be bigger. This is how we used to be, and this is how we are. Even if we're predestined, like starseed divergence, you don't necessarily expand unless you do the work. And lucid dreaming is one of the highest levels of work you can do, because you're working in the etheric realm with the consciousness that you hold right now, So think about the muscles that is working. It is completely going to strengthen your actual spiritual ability. And I was doing it a long time. For a year or two, I was lucid dreaming every night because I achieved it. So you can achieve it just with practicing. And I'm not like a practicey person, but I got there. But I will say one thing is, I got tired of being exhausted every single morning. So I reversed it. I went in with the intention of, yeah, no thanks. I'm done lucid dreaming. I'm done. Like, I'm done, because it would be like, I'd go in and I'd be lucid the whole time. I didn't have so much like you were talking how my fainting was, where it was, because dreams can be weird, right? Like, you're in one room and then you're in another room, and then, but the scenario hasn't changed. So I would be lucid dreaming and it would still have that affair, where when I fainted, it was like nothing. It was like life. It wasn't weird dream stuff. But you can still lucid dream in the weird dream stuff. So that's fine. You could fly. People use it to fly. That's how they always like advertise it. It's more than flying, people. It's actually expanding your consciousness right now, the ability you're able to hold your bandwidth. But anyways, I did ask it to stop, and I don't know if I did a bad thing. I can come back in lucid dream if I'm about to. Nobody dies in my dreams. If I don't want you to die anyways, and I can still have large amount of control. I don't have nightmares. That's not a thing, because I do have like a fail safe. I'm going to enjoy that dream, or I do come back online to be like, nope. And then I'll kind of fade back out. So nothing, I am in control of the dream still to that degree, but I've like relaxed the muscle, because I always remember my dreams. Not usually, like, I'll remember them within the first 20 minutes of waking up, which is why they say you should write them down. Another tip to lucid dream, if you want, is get them all writing down right away, and try to jump back into that next time you go to sleep. Try to go back into that dream. That's one of the biggest tips to do it, because it's a portal. It's an actual place. You're actually in an astral realm. But the astral realms, the fourth dimension, is enormous. So if you start to like layer it down, you'll go back into that dream, that realm, and you'll remember being there earlier. And that remembrance is going to be like, wait a minute. And then you start to wake up in the dream, and that's how that goes. But anyway, so I did kind of ask it to stop, and it took a while to even ask it to stop. I had to like back it off because I was exhausted.
That's really interesting, because that's actually something I've been messing around with. Is like, I do think, because I'm experiencing it, and I didn't really call it on, but I haven't told it to go away. But I do think there's a way that you can select the consciousness that you experience when you rest your vessel here. Right. And I kind of compare it. I don't know if you watch Rick and Morty, but we were talking about it in the chat. There's an episode where he plays Roy, right? And he's Roy for an entire life.
I related to that, because I'd already had I had a daughter, my poor Sophie or Stacy.
Yeah, like I get it. Like it really is. But I think there's a way that you can select which one you experience. I think it's another thing that's been slowly taken away from us or dulled away. Like, we could get into the whole Claire's thing, and we all know about that. But like, I think that's another thing, is like, when we rest, it's not like our consciousness just goes, okay, I'll just chill here for like 8 hours. No, your consciousness is going to go do something, right? Just because your biological, and that's a whole other thing. I don't know if I've even told you, like, my biological vessel can get up and be fully functional while I'm asleep. I am not
sleepwalking.
I am not sleepwalking. I am fully cognitive, except I'm not aware that I'm doing anything.
Oh, okay.
So, like, I can have a conversation with Kyla, except she'll know that it's not me, because I'm just like flat monotone. There's no expression.
Oh, I can zone out like that. Yeah, I do. My husband's learned to catch me. He's like, what did I just say? I'm like, I was somewhere else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, you can actually shift these into autopilot.
It's
right.
True.
And like, mine wakes up, like, my consciousness will have slipped, and then my body will get up and just, she'll be like, can you get me a glass of water? Yeah, water. And I'll just wander off and go do everything she's asked. Again, like Rick and Morty, it's like the night people. Like, there's an episode where they have a somnambulator thing, and it's a whole thing. But yeah, like, the body's awake, but the mind is gone.
Yeah.
It's really, well, we'll pull that up. It's freaking weird.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, just to circle back, sorry, my ADD took the show there for a minute. What got you interested in human design to begin with? Like, how did you come across this? How did you get to this stage of needing to understand how we work?
I just came back in there, and it ended with, we need to understand how we work. I cut out there for a bit.
Oh, okay. What I was asking is, like, how did you get to the point of wanting, like, how did you come across human design, and how did you get into it?
Oh, how did I come across? Oh God, I don't even know if I remember that. I go down so many rabbit holes with so many modalities. So some things come and go. Some things come and go. I could literally be sitting there learning a modality, and then be like, oh wait, I learned this like 4 years ago, and then but it just poofed. It just didn't, because I'm like amalgamating. It's not even on purpose. It's an open throat thing. That's why Sam and I relate over that too. We're here. We digest everything, but then we pull it in to, like, I think it's going to be, and I said this when I graduated high school, and I didn't realize I was being prophetic, but invent a religion. And I don't mean like any dogmatic religion, but literally just taking the best, and putting them together. So into how I found human design, I don't remember, because I just do this with stuff. I just go, and then, but only some things stay. Only some things stay, like Christ. I was in and out of Christ for years because I was like, I didn't want that to be the thing because of the Bible. I didn't want that to be the thing. I was literally like, go away, Christ, you know, but no, Christ is the thing and human design is the thing, you know, because you just keep coming back to it for a reason, like sound healing. Even chakras have kind of faded. If you notice, that used to be a narrative years ago, chakras. That's kind of fading because we are expanding our awareness. So how I found human design, I have no idea, but I just know that, and I didn't even fall in love with it right away because I did my chart. Oh, Sarah the alchemist. That's how when she was talking about being a projector, I was like, I bet I'm a projector too. I just related with it. And then I looked it up and yes, I was, but I left it there. I didn't go deeper into it. And then I just had been circling back until
Oh, she got cut off again. Okay, she was circling back until, and yes, that does sound very familiar, hon. Yeah. Oh, there, you're back. So you got to circling back until.
Yeah. So about a year ago, and I'm not remembering the catalyst then either, why I became serious with it. Oh, I did a podcast with a human design expert, and that fueled me to get more serious into it. And then I just did. And then we started doing a one-on-one thing. She was personally training me, which was really nice. And then I was helping her with like quantum information because she really knew human design, but wasn't as up to date on all the ascension information. So it's interesting to know that you can know about human design, but still not, because there's old, because like she's Californian. And so like they're kind of just already spiritual. That's just the religion of California is spiritual. So she was just kind of raised into it and hadn't realized there was this like humongous ascension narrative and like all these things being unpacked. So we kind of worked together on that. And she would teach me human design and I would teach her ascension. And just grew and grew. And then the truth, we'd pull up and do my children's profiles with mine and talk about our relationships. Cause you can do this you can do that with astrology too. But again, human design was that next level. And once that was really almost what got me more, was seeing like, that is exactly how our relationship is. Whoa. And then I started taking it more seriously and more seriously. And I think the divine, just like Christ, like there's things that we go to, and then there's things that are pulling us forward. And human design is one of those things. And then just recently, and I told Stephen this, I had the Chat GPT take my human design, my gene keys, and my astrology and tell me my ideal careers. Human design practitioner was one of them. So I was like, oh my God, because I can't shut up about it I can't shut up about it now. I just can't, because it's so many things. Because I learned the Carl Jung stuff. I learned the archetypes, and this is all before human design. And that's great. And you can learn and you can learn and you can learn. But that took years and years and years to learn, where you can look at human design and be like, there it is, right? Like, and I'm in for like the condensed packets of information that bring you as much as possible, as quick as possible, because time is of the essence right now. We're ascending, right? And we want that to go as fast as possible. That actually means, and this is what I think my true job is actually downloading information, not just from the ether, but in books, in research, and that's in my chart as well, researching. And I just dive, never getting stuck in any one rabbit hole, thanks to the open throat. I just keep going and learning, and it's amalgamating stuff that I think is actually expanding all of reality. And that sounds grandeur, but it truly, and we all do this with which you do too. Like you're doing pretty much the same thing I am. I think we're pretty much literally doing the same thing. And we both started podcasts just because we wanted to talk to these people. Mine was specifically to get to talk to Sarah, which then the divine brought me Stephen, because he was the first, that podcast I was on of him, that was my first podcast ever. I started calling myself a podcast because I was working up the nerve to ask Sarah. I changed my name to Transcending Ascension because Spirit Mom didn't sound cool enough for her. And when I saw Transcending Ascension was available, the divine told me to, because it was like a download of, that's just the why I thought I was doing it at the time. But as we learn, as we ascend, the divine had a different reason of why it was getting you. The divine has wanted me to have a podcast. I'm realizing that now, because of the neural networks and the consciousness panel we have now. It's all about building those neural networks, because the all is mind. And the more we build that up, the more we generate a new reality.
Absolutely. And Stephen the Catalyst, he has introduced me to you and Sarah and the same type of things. And she had said earlier, sounds familiar. Pooh, Pooh is my nickname. Don't laugh. But
I call my kids Pooh.
I used to drink a lot and got stuck in the door of a tent while wearing red shorts. So you can kind of the Winnie the
Oh,
Pooh
like that's so
thing.
cute.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, she's been collecting all of these books and like some of them at yard sales and whatever, right? And it's like we're getting to a point. It's like all of these things are becoming relevant, and she's like, "Oh, that sounds like a great book. Oh, look, we have it. Oh, look, we should get that. Oh, look, we have it." Like this has happened about 15 times in the last 6 months. Like literally, we had just bought the one book that came up at a secondhand store a few weeks before and had never heard of it before. And then it was mentioned on a show and it's like, oh, look, we have it. Right. So no, we are absolutely just being handed the information that we're needing. So I totally resonate with what you're saying. It's all just coming to where we need it right now.
Yes.
Do you want to pull up my other chart so we can go through that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And well, I'll do that because Aurora, because she was my last podcast, I think.
That was awesome, by the way.
Oh, good. Yes. Yeah, she was great. But she had the same experience with the Course in Miracles. Sorry, I got to stop first and then I'll start again. She had the same thing with the Course in Miracles. She was feeling called to read it and then realized she already had it. So yes.
That was the book, right? Go back. Oh, wrong one.
Did I do it? No.
Anatomy of the Spirit by Caroline Myss was the book.
Oh my God, I love her. She's one of my top. She's what taught me all about the archetypes. She is top notch. I still love her. She didn't fall away with the wind. I kind of basically read all her books and then it gets to the point where it's like repeating itself, but she's still one of my foundational people. I love her. I almost went Catholic because I love her so much.
Yeah, it literally got mentioned. It might have even been your show. And she's like, shit, we have that book.
Oh, yeah, because I talk about her a lot. The little old Chicago woman, that's what I call her. Yeah, I love it. She's Carl Jung and Teresa of Avalon. Or I don't know why I call her Teresa of Avalon. Saint Teresa. And she's just, and I love Saint Teresa. Like such, it's funny because I even mentioned to Stephen because Saint Teresa and John of the Cross, which people don't even realize, were friends. They worked together. They worked each other's like they helped each other on each other's books. Like they knew each other. They were the same time period and they were close friends. So that's very interesting.
That's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. We're cross-pollinating, but now we can do it even more thanks to the internet because they probably would have to get in a horse and buggy and journey.
Oh, yeah, like people are going to look back at the stuff that we're talking about in 10 years and be like, whoa, I already know. Like every time we seem to open our mouths, people are just like, really? And then what happened?
I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
I open my mouth and people wander away. But it's growing online. That's just in person. It is growing online because people are seeking the information. Like you're saying, like they're thirsty. That old thirst. Have one of her. Yeah, you should. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Top notch. Because I've gone through many people. I talk about Matthias DeStefano too, top notch, but Caroline Myss. Yeah. Okay, so let's dive into your chart here. So, and if people saw my episode with Stephen, we did the same thing with his. If you're interested in this one, you can go check that one out on his channel. Because dissecting the charts is the best way you're going to learn it. And they say the same thing with tarot, cast tarot, I Ching, cast it, astrology, cast it, human design, cast it. And so I love doing my friends' charts and I love like doing shows where we do charts because it helps me learn and get it in because there's so many variations. So we see here, manifesting generator. Okay, that's the constant energy. We've talked about that earlier. The profile, the 3-5 you're seeing there is the martyr. So I'm a 1-3, but he's martyr. So that's the 3. And the 5 is the heretic. I think Stephen has a 5 in his, but he doesn't have the martyr.
Sure.
Yeah. And then you two both have a split definition. So it's probably why you're like partners, buddies. Like you both work best as partners with a buddy that's in work. And it means you get many partners. It's just you work best in a partnered environment. Why you're always probably talking about Spinja and how you guys are such a team and how you dream with her like that, or like she's there. Like that's beautiful because you're ordained for partner. And so Stephen, Sam and I bond over the fact we're both single. which is single definition, which means we are in no man's land. We can work with other people, just like you can work with lots and you can work alone, but it's just, where are you going to blossom? That's where your definition is coming in. Where are you going to blossom? Where are you going to feel more natural? Where are you going to feel more like yourself? And that's because all these things are veiled, right? Because you're clearly projecting information, even though you're a manifesting generator, right? So just, these are all where your main thing that comes the easiest for you. It doesn't mean you can't do other things or branch in other realms. And then your strategy to respond, that just goes into being a generator. Not self-theme frustration, that goes into being a generator. But your authority type is unique to you, and that's emotional. And then also called solar plexus, but emotional is what you'll hear it usually called as. And then down here in your chart, you are very, very, very defined. And when I was early in this, I thought like defined was better and open sucks, because I'm very open. I've only got 3 defined, but it's hugely vulnerable. But again, it helps me digest information. So it's actually a gift. So I've learned to like mine. But yours is good. That's why people really bond with you. This is why your channel's really blowing up, because you are a Don Rogers. Like, you literally have TV name already, and like, this is in your chart, defined, so defined. You are sure of yourself, you know who you are. Even that doesn't mean you don't have questions, but you've never been like, who am I, like, and if you have, it would have been you were very far away from your nature, because your nature knows who you are. And you've come here with lots of channels too. Not everybody has these kinds of channels. You can see here what I was talking about though. So how you have this one 12 to 22, and I'm not a gate memorizer, and that would take us days to get into, because you can dissect this down to the gates and whether they have channels or not, or unconscious and conscious. But I'm pointing this out with you because you have a lot, and people don't usually have so much completed channels. You'll see the starts here, like these poops over here and these little ones. That's normal. But you have right here, from your throat to your mind, or your ajna, sorry, uh, fully defined, consciously defined. So that's why you can be a perfect broadcaster like you are, because you are perfectly defined right there. And then these individual gates are going to have their own meanings, like the 62 to the 17, they're going to have their own meanings. You can really, really, really dissect this into the very infinitesimal details. But then here, see, like, just for an example, you have like this one here, 36 to 56. See how 56 isn't lit up, but there is a channel there of unconsciousness. This means it's never going to be as online as its neighbor there, 22 to 12. That's bam, you are on that. And that's going from your emotions up into your throat. So another reason why you're very relatable. You have a conscious connection through your emotions. So this is why you come out so genuine, so authentic, so just you, right? Because it's there. You have the energy channel. Because these channels, so we talked about the numbers at the beginning and how they come through a mandala, and then they come through and they filter through. They're filtering in. So when you see these lines, they are energy streams. You're looking at actual energy streams. That's why I love human design, because life is all about energy streams. And you're looking at a conscious energy stream when you see the black. And you're looking at unconscious, that 88 days prior, when you're looking at the red.
You kind of touched on something there. It also explains why I always tend to put my foot in my mouth. And there is a lot of times where I'll just be like sitting there after I've said something like, did I just say that out loud? Like, it's like, oh shit. And I really do. I just say whatever comes to mind. And there's a lot of times where it's like, I probably shouldn't have said that. And there's Kyla. She's like, his pickup line was, I like campfires. Right. that was literally my pickup line. And then she found out I could cook and could build a house and blah, blah, blah. Like, but that was my pickup line. I just kept it simple. I was like, I like campfires. She's like, so do I. And that's how we ended up hanging out. Right.
That's awesome. That's perfect. Because you come through though. Like, you come through. Like, so I don't even think you could say anything, and I feel like you would come through, because as long as you're saying that anything with your natural, genuine nature, because you radiate in. We're like other people, like me. I need to work a lot to make sense, and because I can say a bunch of words and you're not going to hear what I wanted to. I'm getting a lot better at it. But go watch my show from 5 years ago and you'll be like, what? That will after I got rid of the teleprompter, because when I very first started, I had a teleprompter. But then I was like, I didn't like that. I don't know. I might be going back to it though. So we'll see. Because I have to work through the fact that I don't make sense. I have a really hard time connecting because I can feel it. I can see it. I can watch the movie of what I'm trying, I can energetically feel into what I want to say, but getting it to come out is a whole different bag of bones. But again, it helps me with conceptualization and building theories and things like that. So it has its time and place. It's building muscles in other places. But I admire your direct emotion to throat and direct ajna to throat. But then to leave yourself very, again, with the vulnerable and genuine thing. And so how you probably don't have much of an ego is you have an open heart and an open head. So that means you are very going to listen to other people's opinions. You are going to be very receptive to other people's thoughts, and you can psychically hear other people's thoughts because they're fighting over the tablet. Because you can hear other people's thoughts, because open centers will help you be more psychic. And then you also have the open heart. And the open heart will allow you to feel other people's emotions as well. But that could be a vulnerability there for you. If you saw the open heart, people could end up, be careful with that one, is what I would say. I don't want to like give anyone that could listen advice, but your open heart should be just taken care of, because it means people could probably break your heart easily. People could probably like get in there and take advantage. So that's just what I mean in that, because being to any spot you have an opening is where you're vulnerable, right? So people could do the same thing with your mind. They could get in on your mind, but because you're so closed off everywhere else, and because the mind doesn't have as many feelings in it, I wouldn't be that worried with the open mind. That's actually just a good thing, because psychic ability and open thoughts, like being able to hear other people's opinions. But the open heart, watch, be careful. I mean, you're lucky you're with your wonderful Spinja, but this could go with anybody, like people bleeding hearts. Oh, please take care of me. Things like that. Yeah. So you gotta just be careful with that. But everything else, and defined root though would actually help level that out, because the defined root, I don't have that either. That's why I don't like discipline and rules and all that, because I have an open root. But you have a closed root, so you would do good with discipline and whatever you want. You get to decide and then just do it. Such a novel idea with someone with an open root. We can think about doing things, but then not actually be able to facilitate that in any way, where you're going to be able to just, when you decide to do something, you can do it. And then there's going to be that ADHD factor, which I find is almost like a separate thing that we all share, that can come and overlay. But that's how you'll be able to tell, no, this is just ADHD, and then find an ADHD workaround if you were to have some kind of jarring things there, because there is other things. But honestly, human design is so accurate.
You could not be more accurate. I can call my mom or 15 other people that will tell you that I am one of the biggest suckers for the damsel in distress, bleeding heart, a hard luck story. I really am the person. Like, I've had to have people tell me to stop being so generous because I'm putting myself out, or, that person is taking advantage of me. So it is really accurate. And I can't say enough good stuff about this. Like, I'm still reading through mine. I've read through it once already, the stuff that you've sent me, and I'm rereading it and trying to figure this out.
So much. And then when you get into every channel and gate, oh my God.
Yeah. If somebody wanted to get this done, could they come to you, or where would they go to get that?
Yeah, they could come to me if they want. I mean, I do. Yeah. If you want the full thing, I will give you the full thing. I do chart. Yeah. I have a full thing where I'll go through every gate with you. We'll do it one-on-one and we talk through it and just absolutely run through it. But I give people charts all the time though. Just like, tell me your birthday and stuff, and I can tell you your chart, and just the bare bones. Like, this is the bare bones. What we're looking at right now is the bare bones, and I can give that to people. They can also get it themselves for free though. This is, you don't need me to tell, but you don't need me to tell you. But when you pay a human design person, all they are doing is the work for you. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. They're doing the work for you. But you can choose to do it yourself. You could choose to pay for this chart, the full thing. It's like $69 a chart. That's not what I did. What I use, I'll tell you what I use, because that's my favorite thing. Is I have an art called Stella. It's only an app, and it might only be iPhone. I don't know. It's amazing. There's only a couple differentiations. It won't tell you your incarnation cross or your split. So I just go here and find it. That's why I use this from this website. And it makes everything pink and blue, and then see-through or solid. So it tried to like be a little unique there. And it comes with absolutely everything. And this uniquely had the genetic trauma too, which it would calculate for you. And so it's called Stella. And it's only like $45 for the whole year, for the whole year. So if you want to do the work for yourself, this is what I recommend. This is what I recommend because it's the cheapest way to do it. Because all human design is still very much behind a paywall, where even if you want a full chart on the actual websites, they're $69, or you could pay monthly or yearly or things like that. But you do want to dive into your human design. So I would do that one, the Stella app for a year. You can come to me and I'll do it for you. I don't care. It's on my website, but I'm not one to promote, and I only offer my services because I want people to make sure they have them. And I know what it's like to see The Alchemist and wish I could talk to her and learn what she learned. So if people actually hear my teachings and truly want to know what I have to say, and they're actually that serious about it, that's why I offer. And it was just kind of one of those things I was told to do. But truly, if you just want to know, I'm not one to push learning, because when I was with my human design person, she said, "Oh, you need a professional. You just need a professional." And I was like, "No, I don't." And because I was single definition, right? So I don't need anybody. I like to learn to do things on myself, but not everybody's like that. There's triple splits and quadruple splits. So you might want somebody to be there for you. And that's why I offer. So if you want it to be me, I do have that offering. But you can do it yourself. And I'm just repeating myself because I am team do it yourself.
Absolutely. And I've got your website and your YouTube scrolling across the bottom, like we're on some weird redneck CNN or something. But yeah, so no, I cannot say enough good stuff. Like I don't read a whole lot. I get a lot of the cliff notes from Kyla, but this is something I actually dug into because like as soon as I started reading it, it was like, holy crap, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. It really is something that I think everybody should have done because it's a very good tool to reflect on yourself and possibly learn a few things about yourself as well. I can absolutely say it's made me reconsider a few of the facets of who I am.
Oh, yeah.
So I would truly suggest that, like she said, through her or do it yourself, but absolutely
Yeah.
have it done because
I was sorry, because I agree with you so much. I was so passionate about reading about myself and my previous history of Jungianism, like being and Caroline Myss, that's what she breaking down the self, breaking down the self, breaking down the self. I'm so obsessed. That's why I like to do people's charts, because I want to know about everybody. I want to know what makes a human, and then I want to know motivation, like the whole character development. Like that actually has to do with printing reality, but I'll spare the lecture because it's very vital. But if you really just want to, like for you, because you might just be certain on yourself, just getting it to read your own chart and learn deeply about you, it's going to rebuild your whole life, literally and energetically, because as you learn about yourself, you're literally going to be able to build up the neural networks that build up yourself, because the all is mind.
I totally dig it, and I'm going to be looking further into this. Just before we go, I know we're already an hour and it's later where you are than where I am.
Oh,
We were talking earlier about dopamine. Do you want to tell everybody how you got into looking into dopamine addiction? Because it's something that is fairly common nowadays, and a lot of people don't even realize they have it. Like after our conversation the other day, I started noticing the amount of times I have my phone in my hand and I don't even need it. Right. And it is for that, is there anything cool going on? Is there anything that's going to excite me? Is there anything? And it's almost like a junkie looking for a piece of crack in a carpet, right? You're looking for nothing. Right. But I'd love to hear, because we were talking about addiction, how you got to the point of looking at dopamine and the other neurochemicals that we create.
100%. And I think we're handed such a beautiful moment that I'm going to ask you to unpack your human design for us and tell us what it taught you about you, where you saw you could find joy. Where in your human design did you see joy points? Like martyr heretic, meanings that serving people, and but you're going to find your own specifics, but serving people and in a heretic manner, right? Like, so stepping outside the box, all those things these mean. These are joy and bliss points. And I'm being broad because you're going to have the specifics, but these are where we find joy points. So because that's where we're going to get into, but where would you see in your human design that you could find joy points?
Oh, it absolutely would be the heretic aspect of things, because like long story short, I once had a hypnosis done, and part of my higher consciousness is Gabriel, and I seem to be in any reality. I'm the big mouth. Gabriel is the trumpet player, like he's the one that announces. I have just leaned into this, I'm here to spread word. I'm here, and this is my enjoyment now. This is the thing that fulfills me the most, is talking to people and explaining things in a way that nobody else explains them to us, and we need it. Like I truly feel like what I do from 7 in the morning till 5 at night is my job. This is my calling. And that actually really helped me wrap my head around that. Like the whole thing about being outside of the system, because like, there is that slow blink that people like us get from people. And it's like, huh, what the hell are you talking about? But there's those ones that light up as soon as you start talking. And that's the dopamine smash for me now. When I get a comment on Facebook, and it's not from a place of ego, I've done the self-assessment on this. It is from true joy, right? I'll get a comment on YouTube like, you really helped me, or I had the same experience, or your guest was wonderful and they made me think this. That's the spike I'm getting. And it might be 3 days later, it might be a month later, right? It's that expanded joy that I'm experiencing doing this that is the new addiction.
Yes. Yes. We need joy. We need joy. We need joy. It is so high level that like you actually need consciousness to completely comprehend it. That's what I came to. That was my epiphany. So I've known about dopamine addictions for a long time. But when I learned that dopamine can feed into the soul, that's when I was like, and you hear joy, 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 follow your joy, follow your bliss, follow your joy, follow your bliss. It just poofed into a connection that, again, I'm still struggling to find the words. That's why I haven't officially done like a lesson on it myself. And I was just telling you guys in the group and I was doing it on my Twitter because I'm building. Twitter's where I build my thoughts. YouTube is where I actually bring them. That's why when people say, where do I go to find you? YouTube. Because if you go to Twitter, you're going to find me thinking. If you go to YouTube, you're going to find me teaching. Because I appreciate Twitter for that. And we're learning, and that's why we find each other and we grow together and because we're thinking together, right? But joy is of the soul. It's I don't know where it falls with Christ, higher. I would guess higher if I had to intuitively throw out an answer. Joy is higher. It's an actual energetic realm of reality, a layer of reality that we are seeing being mirrored in those chemicals that are being released in dopamine. And I think it's going to grow into serotonin as well. Just like how the Elohim, the Orphanim, and the Seraphim are all like the same thing, but different beings at the same time. So too in our hormones, things like dopamine and serotonin are doing slightly different things, but they're coming from like a same space. And that same space is the highest of the high, DMT, right? All the same avenue. So following our joy and our bliss and finding in things like human design where we authentically find our specific joy points. And then sometimes you have to invent it. That's like figuring it out on what's your thing. And then also realizing you're a projector and you like don't have enough energy and like all these different, or your thing with guilt and an open heart, like wham, that's something right there that you're gonna have to deal with. Like you're wounding being guilt and an open heart. Yeah. But that's your thing, right? So we know this, but where's the joy? Where's the joy, right? So we need that joy and we crave it. And this is where we get into dopamine addictions, the point. This is why we get into dopamine addictions, because we are subconsciously seeking the higher realms. This is why I was just telling my daughter today, she's singing one of the love songs of, I won't even repeat the words, but I was literally like, sweetheart, you change that out for God or you don't listen to it, because that, oh my God, that drivel where they taught us to want another, like a man or a woman with such need. I ache and long for, no, you don't. You are aching and longing for your higher self and your soul. So too do we get twisted up in love because of this soul connection. So too do we get twisted up with dopamine addictions. But dopamine actually, I want to say, takes it a little bit more nefariously further, because we actually need dopamine. Like our human body needs dopamine, because you can make arguments we don't need love and things like that. And I'll leave that there because we're talking about dopamine. But with dopamine, you do want it, you do need it, but that's why we have to find ways to facilitate it in a positive way. This is why we need to know thyself. Know thyself. That olden day thing, which I've been teaching since forever, which I now just keep unlayering reasons of why. Why? Because you can fix your dopamine addictions if you know who you are. And that's what I've been doing this whole time, because I'm still a dopamine addict. Like I still always need something, although it's like rated G now, but like it's always something to like give me that yay, like that little check, and then that flood of dopamine, which gives us energy. And if it's done positively, if it's done when we do our collective consciousness group, which I think you're coming tomorrow, so that's amazing. We report back that we leave feeling like a high, like a good high, and it lasts for hours, and it gives us energy and thoughts and epiphanies, because that's direct energy from source itself. It's going to last. We're scrolling, like I used to scroll Instagram before, I don't know, like years ago. I don't do it anymore because I know what it is and it's not useful and it's a waste of time. And that doesn't mean I don't look on Instagram, but it's different. I've curated. I don't even go on it much, so I don't even want to say that. But like if I was to go on, it would be very specific stuff. Just leave it at that. But before, I would go on and just hope for something good. And like it's a part of you is in it, like gambling, where like you like the crap just so you can be like, yes, the good one. And then you get that dopamine hit. And like whatever it can be, there's so many different, the scrolling itself, the bright lights, that's literally going to the casino. For us, we live really close to Niagara Falls. So we love Niagara Falls. And when we were first going, we would always do the stuff. And I wasn't as awakened then when we used to go when we were younger, but going with the kids when they were younger, because we had to take some years off when they were teeny babies. So, but we've still been going for maybe about 5 years now. And then the first couple years, and I was pretty good level awakened then. Like I was pretty, like I wasn't doing bad stuff or anything. But after the first year, I was like, there's something wrong about this. There's something wrong. And then I'm like, oh, maybe they're leeching my energy. Maybe they're blah, blah, blah. And then the next year we did it again, but I went in with eyes open. Where like the first year I was like, yeah, fun stuff, fun stuff, fun stuff. Didn't realize I was doing anything wrong, because Niagara Falls is just filled with all these very bright, flashy colors. Maybe if you went to Vegas, I don't know, but it's filled with bright, flashy colors, fun house after fun house. It's like an amusement park, but it's not. It's like it's how it is. It's how just the Lundy's Lane is. Anyway, so year 2, I go in, eyes open. Now we don't do we do one fun thing. They get to pick one thing, and that's all we do. It did genuinely used to be really fun, but I realized it was doing something like because I've never been a gambler. I knew that was wrong from the get-go. It's just, and my money, like no thanks. I tried it just a little. We went in with $20. I spent $5. I even won money. I won money. That's how against it was. I won money, and I was like, no, I feel disgusting. Let's go. Purity's in my chart. Purity's always been a part of my chart. So that's just one of my things. So I'm lucky to have that, because it saved me. Because even though I was a drinker, I had purity as part of my chart. So that saved me from a lot of possible badness that could have happened. But I didn't realize this Lundy Lane thing. This was a dopamine hijacking. It was just woo, woo, woo. And it's everywhere though. It's everywhere. That's just my example. It's everywhere. They know this, and they try to give it to us as much as possible, because that's when you are going to leech loosh, and things are going to be sucking you dry. They're literally there. I tell on my show, with a straw, sucking you up. And whatever you're doing, if you're watching your own naughty business on the computer, if you're stealing because you can get adrenaline, and like there's so many different bad things you can do with this where they're going to suck your loosh. But I found it most nefarious to realize things like Niagara Falls, because it's like, oh no, right by Niagara. I go there and I do ceremonies. Like I went, like that place is it's one of the wonders of the world. Like it's a sacred space, and you've perverted it, but it is what it is. And that's, we just got to get aware. That's step 1, get aware, because we have to think of ways for like positive dopamine would be going to the actual falls. And you can go behind the falls. We're waiting for the kids that are older to do that, but we would do the Maid of the Mist every year, and I would do like a ceremony when I was on it. And we still do this. I'm saying it like it's past tense. We will be doing it again probably in a few weeks. and like getting that like positive dopamine, because wherever you can find it, hiking, this is why you hear about going to nature. It's going to be things that sound boring, but that's why I want you to look into your human design chart and find your specific bliss points, because then it won't be as boring, because we can give the overarching boring things like the beach, like I did today, or hiking. It's nature. So I'm going to list a bunch of nature stuff because that's where it is. But in your specific things like doing podcasts, that works for him and I. That actually is fantastic. I can only do it a little bit though, because I'm a projector. So there's variables. I can only do it like once every little bit. I just did 3 shows in a week, like a month ago, and I almost killed myself. And I knew better. I was like, you're going to go into projector burnout for this, but I did it anyways. And I did.
Random nerd fact. It was actually the mob that figured out that you could get people to give you their money with flashing lights instead of having to use a gun.
I'm not surprised, but yeah.
Most of Las Vegas was designed by the mob because one of them figured out, if you put these bright lights, you will keep people awake and they will just pump it in. Oh, give them free booze, give them free cigarettes, give them that, right? That's why it was
Notice how a lot of evil comes from the Italians.
Yeah, you'd get a kickback, you'd get a comp room, you get this, you get that, you get the hot girl, they would set you up with everything to keep you pumping that money in. It was the mob that figured this out and the government just kind of stole it, right? But it was actually the mob that brought this whole cycle into our system.
I think the way the CIA works too is modeled after the mob, because the CIA took over from the mob and people know that, but they don't realize that they actually copied the mob, the blackmailing, the murder. That's all straight from the mob.
Absolutely. No, you're dead on. Well, we've been going like 90 minutes already, my friend. So where can everybody get a hold of you to get their charts and check out your videos and teachings? And is there anything else that you want to say before we wrap up? Because I can't believe that went by already. Like,
I know. Yeah, that's funny.
We're going to have to do another one because we always have lots to talk about.
It's true. Yeah. Well, maybe we could dive in more of this tomorrow too. Are you coming? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
1:30 EST for everybody watching. And then we all stream it to our channels now. So on any of our channels, you can find it. But yeah, to find me, to work with me, I am transcendingascension.com. And you can work with me. I have a variety of ways, life coaching, which is going to involve human design anyways. Or you could just do human design. And technically I'm a minister, but it still feels like life coaching. So I've struggled with the title, but it's therapy. And I even I can technically legally call myself a therapist. So it's therapy, really. Honestly, that's all I care about, is because in therapy, you heal the self and you can't really do anything. None of it even matters if you're not healed. So healing the self, like that's why I was saying Carl Jung, because yeah, healing the self is first and foremost the most important thing you ever want to do with any of the ascension information. That's why people like studying ascension or conspiracy theories, whichever way you fall. If you're not healing this self, you're not really doing anything except filling your mind with information that might even actually be hurting you. And this is where you see people go dangerously schizophrenic, because they're not healing the self. And there's so many ways to do that specific for you. So, or just check the channel. I have like 5 years more now of material available on YouTube. So honestly, everything I'm ever going to tell you is in there, just not specific for you, but you probably find stuff, because I just can't stop talking about this stuff.
And I'm so glad that you do talk, because I have picked up so much from your channel and from our conversations, and it's always just great to be able to talk to somebody who understands me and I understand them, because I lived an existence where I just trapped myself in my own brain for a very, very long time, and I've finally started opening my mouth, and it's fun to have. Kyla calls them intellectual playmates, and I appreciate them so much, and I appreciate you so much, Dyanna, and thank you for coming on again.
Yes, thank you for having me. Happy to be here. Oh, and I'm going to talk to you June 9th. Yeah, he'll be on my channel June 9th at 8:30 EST. So yeah, we'll continue.
Absolutely, and that will be another fun conversation, I'm absolutely sure. And thank you to everybody in the chat, and thank you to everybody that listens to this in the future. And like I always say, if you can go outside, please do, because it's a lot better than being in front of this screen.